jumping. She's going live. Just talking to test for sound right now. See what's going on. Test. Everybody hear me? Type 1 in the chat if you can hear me. We got ones in the chat. What's I ain't crack? All right, let's clap it up, man. All right, we are the ISUPK. That's the Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge. Started out of 1 West, 125th Street, Harlem, New York. We are under Commanding General Yohana. You understand? And since 1969, the ISUPK has been bringing out the truth of the Bible to the so-called blacks, the so-called Hispanics, and the so-called Native Americans, that we are the true children of the Most High. We are the Israel that this Bible talks about. You understand? We are the Hebrew, so-called Hebrew Israelites. But don't get it confused. The ISUPK is not affiliated with any other Israelite groups, any other Christian church, any other Muslim mosque, any other Hindu temple, any of that. You understand? If it is not in the ISUPK, it is not in the truth. You understand? So we are coming out, coming to you from the Eastern Shore. The address, we're at the Somerset County Public Library. This is the address is, see that address one time, so that people know where to locate us if they ever want to come get some of this good medicine that our people need. You understand? The address is 11767 Beechwood Street. That's Princess Anne, Maryland, 21853. You understand? You can visit our website at isupk.com. You understand? Hit up that website and get in touch with the nearest, camp to your location. If you sick of the hell that our people are suffering every day, you understand? If you're sick of, the same old condition, and the same old failed solutions for that condition, get in touch with, go to isupk.com, send an email, let them know where you at. They're going to put you in touch with someone that's in your proximity. You understand? And you make that phone call like so many other brothers have done. You understand? Sitting here in this world, our people suffering and dying day in and day out. And everybody, that's supposed to be in positions of leadership to kind of give us guidance and to give us hope, to give us some direction, to offer us some protection. These people fail us day in and day out. So we just, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. We as a people have become insane to believe that, a politician like Al Sharpton or Jesse Jackson, or Joe Biden could actually do anything to fix our people. That we are insane to believe that TD Jakes or Creflo Dollar or Kirk Franklin, you understand, could do anything to fix our people at this point. They've had their time. They've had everybody's attention. They've had all of our resources poured into them to the point where they're buying $1 million jets, $16 million jets. You understand? Like, that's not working, man. you know, and the ISUPK is here to actually give our people a real solution for what we're going through. First off, we give an identity. You know, who are you? You know, the Bible talks about one of the curses of the children of Israel was being stripped from their heritage. You understand? Being stripped of their inheritance. We sitting here in America, we're considered African Americans. That's two continents. That's not a people. Who are we? We are the children of Israel. We are from the 12 tribes of Israel. You understand? And when you understand who you are, then you can go about being who you're supposed to be. You understand? Maybe being an African American is the problem. You know, maybe trying to be African and trying to be American is part of the reason why we're in the hell that we're in. On that note, today's topic is basically, you know, we should not be celebrating the 4th of July ever. You know, there's about 100 reasons, but for time's sake, we're gonna just hit on, you know, some of the main reasons. Okay. I mean, this holiday comes around every year, you know. We talked in previous classes about how, you know, we're not supposed to worship other gods. You know, we have our Father, you know. We're not supposed to go out and adopt all these other fathers and ignore our Father. You understand? We have to stop doing that. We have to stop serving other people and other things, you know, and serve our Father. So that's the main reason why, you know, we're not supposed to celebrate Christmas, you know, because that's a pagan god. That's after some other god. That's the worship of some other god and some other heathen custom. You know, that's the worship of Nimrod. You know, I'm supposed to celebrate New Year's. That's another god. That's a legit, you know, god that they would worship. You know, Easter. You know, the Christian church tries to disguise Easter as something that's about Christ and this, you know, extreme sacrifice that he made, you know, on behalf of, you understand, his biological family, right? But Easter is about the goddess Estar. When you look at the Easter bunny, the goddess of fertility, that's why you have the Easter bunny and the eggs. But they disguise it and mask it as something that's just fun to do. Well, with the 4th of July, it's not exactly the same, because there isn't a real like historic God that they're worshiping with a name, if that makes sense. It's not like you know, some story of some God that was somewhere in some other, you know, realm that, you know, has some power over, you know, ice cream or something like that, right? You would think he's, you know, 4th of July is the celebration of some type of goddess or some type of god that has something to do with fireworks or goddamn barbecue chicken, right? Mm-hmm. But it's not that type of worship that takes place. But make no mistake about it, there is some worshiping that's taking place. There is some worshiping that the Most High would not be pleased with from an allegiance standpoint. And I might have just gave you a little hint about where I'm going with this. That, like, first you kind of got to know the history of you know, this so-called United States of America, okay, to understand what the 4th of July is about. And then what I'll do is I'll bring out the biblical relevance of some of these things that kind of makes it absolutely against the Most High's law to participate in such an event. You understand? So when we go to the Bible scriptures, make sure you can follow along in the King James Bible version. On your phones, you can download the Blue Letter Bible. You understand? And follow along as we go over that, as we pull in these scriptures. Because again, what you're going to find is, as much as I'm up here running my mouth, it's not what I say. It's what the Most High says. You understand? and these records that he left for his children. So I'm just a messenger that's just relaying this information in the appropriate context so that it's actually worth something, so that it actually makes point to a sense where you do something different instead of the same old thing over and over and over again. You understand? So just a little bit of timeline and background. You got so-called Christopher Columbus in 1492. He so-called discovered this land called America. And I mean, how do you discover something where there's people already at? That's interesting. But that's the way our oppressor works. Our oppressor holds himself in such a regard where, I mean, if you and him get to somewhere at the same time, there's no telling them that you beat them there. You understand? Even worse, there were people already here, clearly. He gets here, sees people here, and goes back home and tells them, found it. I found something new. Not only do they find it, they come and they obliterate the people that lived here. You understand? They were already here. They come here and they just murder them and rob them of the very land that they're living on. You understand? And that's the type of person our oppressor is. So don't lose sight of that as we're talking about the 4th of July and what people are planning to do whenever this comes up. I know we're getting close. You know, it's the end of June, so I know it's early July. So it's got to be within the next week or so. So the 4th of July is, well, after Columbus so-called discovered America, he goes back to Spain, and then other European powers, Britain and France, they started sending people over here to pretty much claim this land that was found, even though it was already people living here. And again, they did what they had to do by force to take over this land to the people, you know, to the so-called Native Americans, the people that were already here. Those are the Most High's children. They came and they murdered the Most High's children. They came and they kicked them, you know, our people off their land and sent them to live on reservations. You understand? They made treaties with them and made deals with them, you know, that, all right, we just take this little piece. If that's okay with you, yeah, cool. Next thing you know, they're going and slaughtering them and taking the rest of it. You understand? That's the type of beast that our oppressor is. From the time he came over here, even before that, even back within the Bible, you know, that the oppressor was, you know, Esau was a murderous bastard. You understand? He was always had snake-like qualities and characteristics. You know, he couldn't be trusted. So they come over here and they kind of set up shop. The European, you know, they came over here, set up shop, all the way up until around about 1776. Okay. And that was when, that was, by that time, they had 13 colonies over here that were operating under Britain. Okay. A little bit into that, again, the oppressor's a murderous bastard. He even murders his own kind. You understand? So you had Britain fighting with France and all kinds of, you know, battles amongst themselves. You understand? Not to mention that they were enslaving the Hispanics, the Native Americans, and the so-called Negroes to develop this land, you know, to try to turn it into, you know, what Britain had going over there with the, you know, the type of buildings and things like that, the type of government, well, not even necessarily government, but the type of order, the type of, you know, customs that they had over there. But then they started to have a lot of infighting. The people that were living, the colonists that were living over here started beefing with Great Britain, who had, you know, was kind of in charge. Great brother name was King George or something like that, right? So they actually started having some beef to where they said, you know what? We're sick of this oppression that we're under. Imagine that. America's forefathers, the 13 colonies, were so pissed off at having someone rule over them that they said, you know what, we're gonna separate from that. You know, we can't take this oppression anymore. We don't want nothing else to do with you over in Britain. And the sad thing is, it was all over taxes. They rebelled and they fought back, and they made up their mind that they were going to separate over taxes. They considered it taxation without representation. What had happened was there was a war in America between like the British and the French or something like that over some land, and Britain won, but the colonists had to pay an extra tax to Britain. So all the money they were making off the cotton and tobacco and all of that, they were having to pay extra taxes to Britain. And they were like, what, you want us to pay more money? Because, you know, Britain had to fork over some money to fight a war. That pissed the Americans off, the forefathers, the colonizer, the colonists that were here, pissed them off so much. Meanwhile, they are slave owners. They are beating the skin off the backs of our relatives. You understand? They are murdering our relatives. They are stripping children away from their parents. They're pulling husbands away from their families. You understand? They're raping our women. But he's pissed off at the oppression of a little bit of taxes that he's got to pay to Britain. So he comes up with this whole Declaration of Independence. He says, we are no longer with you, Britain. We're going to be doing our own thing from here on out. And again, I just find that kind of comical, because it's like, man, look at what we've gone through in America. Look at what we've suffered through. Look at the brutality that our people have experienced. And when did we do a Declaration of Independence? When did we say, enough of this oppression? Let us just kind of go let us kind of pull back and just, you go ahead and do your thing, let us do ours. When did we do that? But they did it over some taxes. It's 2021 and we still getting shot in the street. We still getting drugs poured into our neighborhoods. We're still getting milked for every penny by the politicians, you understand? By the pastors. We're still being, you know, manipulated. We're still being molested, you know? And we haven't necessarily made the connection that maybe we need to separate. Maybe we need to kind of withdraw from the way that they are. Maybe we need to do our own thing. So just getting back to the history, they signed a constitution in 1789, which is about 13 years later. You know, the Constitution of America or whatever. And it's funny because, you know, at that time, 1789, the Constitution starts off with, or the preamble to the Constitution says, "We the people." Now this is 1789. The Constitution is the very written foundation for America. It explains what the government's going to be like, you know, who's going to be, you know, how they're going to make decisions. You know what I'm saying? What people can and can't do. Like that's America's custom is all kind of, you know, American customs are all kind of like wrapped up in there in terms of red, white, and blue, you know, like the American situation. And at the time that they're doing the "We the People," blacks are still enslaved. You understand? Hispanics are still enslaved, still being murdered and you know, robbed. You know, Texas used to be Mexico, right? You understand? Like Texas is now Texas. And the wicked bastard that was in, you know, in the White House before Biden, Trump, he goes and wants to build a wall to keep the Mexicans out of Texas, which is Mexico. You understand? Like that's the type of beast we're dealing with, right? So again, when they wrote their Constitution, it says "We the people," and you know, they weren't talking about anybody and everybody. You understand? They were talking about their people. And so they got their constitution. That's for them. That constitution wasn't talking about Britain. That constitution wasn't talking about the Chinese. That constitution wasn't talking about the African. You understand? It was talking about the oppressor, the so-called white man, right? This Bible, when it talks about the children of Israel, this is our constitution. So the things in this Bible, it's fair, okay? They can have their constitution. We've got ours. You understand? So when this Bible talks about, for God so loved the world, he's not talking about the whole planet Earth. He's talking about everybody in Israel. You understand? When Christ said he came to, for the lost sheep of the house of Israel, he's talking about the lost sheep of the house of Israel. He's not talking about everybody on the planet. You understand? This Bible is specific to us, just like the American Constitution was specific to them. Does that make sense? The Christian church will teach you, that this Bible is for everybody, like that it's all inclusive. Because they have this warped sense of belonging, this warped sense of everything's just in harmony. When, the Most High set division amongst nations, the Most High made the other people to be vessels of honor and some to be vessels of dishonor. You understand? The Bible says, don't the potter have power over the clay? The Most High can make a people to be good and a people to be bad. You understand? Like it's because he's in charge. He's making it. You understand? So back to the Constitution. They got theirs. We got ours. No sweat. It wasn't until 1863, which is like 85, 90 years after the Constitution, almost 100 years after the Independence Day, that Abraham Lincoln signed the Emancipation Proclamation, so-called abolishing slavery. You understand? So that's the time where it's like, okay, if there would be any semblance of something that would be considered a so-called Black Independence Day, that would be kind of what it's about. And that was actually brought to the very forefront, was it a week ago, maybe 2 weeks ago, with Juneteenth. Now Juneteenth originally became like a thing in 1865, when some people from up north came down to the southern states and was like, look, y'all, 2 years ago, Abe Lincoln signed these papers abolishing slavery. Y'all been still doing slavery for 2 more years, right? When are y'all got to let them go? Y'all got to kind of stop that. Y'all gotta let them go. You understand? So that was when the blacks and Hispanics and Native Americans were kind of free. They were able to so-called, all right, go ahead, go live your best life, right? But an interesting thing happened shortly after that. There are these things called gentleman named Jim Crow, right? And Jim Crow was one of the people who had was responsible for like making laws about segregation. You understand? Like for public places, making laws to where only white people can come through the front door. If black people want anything, black people can't come in here. You understand? This is a whites only restaurant. You understand? So black people kind of got to go do their own thing. We're not giving y'all, as far as schools, we're going to have our own schools. Black people can't come to these schools. Hispanic people can't come to these schools. The Native Americans, the handful of them that were left alive, you can't come to these schools. These are for us only. Y'all go make a school in that shed or something. You understand? So Jim Crow laws kick in 1870, which is about 5 years after so-called Juneteenth, 7 years after the emancipation, the abolishment of slavery. But the Jim Crow situation stays in place all the way up until 1965. Now, we've got relatives that are living right now that were alive in 1965. So America has earned its, has demanded its independence from Great Britain because of taxation, right? Because of some money. And we suffered like legit racism, discrimination, brutality, murder, robbery, rape, all the way up until so-called 1965. Now, on paper, they say that 1965 is over. It's a wrap. Everybody's even, Civil Rights Act was enacted in 1964, where they said, look, man, you can't just be treating, Black people and Hispanic people and Native American people any old type of way, man. We kind of got to change the way we're doing things. You understand? All the while, every year on the 4th of July, all the way up until so-called 1964 or 1965, they're celebrating Independence Day. On the 4th of July, they're having barbecues, fireworks. They're singing their songs. They got the red, white, and blue. They've got the flags. They've got everything. They're having a party about it. You understand? Now, all the way up until 1965, what do you think our people were doing on the 4th of July? Even when, again, on record, even legally, you see what I'm saying? It was okay to kind of be very harsh and unfair, to our people. What do you think our people were doing on the 4th of July? All the way up till then. I'm one. We were celebrating the independence and the so-called freedom of the people who held us captive. We celebrated the freedom of the people who murdered us and abused us and hung us from trees and sick dogs on us and shot us in the back and terrorized us. Every year we're celebrating their day, their freedom. Do you want to know what that's called? I'll ask if any of you know what it's called, but I don't think any of you guys are. I don't know. You might surprise me. You know what that's called? When you have someone who's terrorizing you and abusing you. Well, how should someone feel about that individual? Someone who's hurting them and just crushing them.
Should be mad at them.
You should be mad at them. Do you know what it's called when instead of being mad at them, you develop an affection for them? Where instead of being mad at them, you almost fall in love with them. You start to feel sorry for them. You understand? You start to develop an affection for them. Do you know what that's called?
Stockholm syndrome.
Get that brother. Listen, that brother says Stockholm syndrome. Stockholm syndrome is a condition in which hostages develop a psychological bond with their captors during captivity. So over the course of this time, they implemented so much warfare against our people and beat us to powder and just psychologically just ruined us to the point where we fell in love with them. We fell in love so much so that we celebrate their birthday every year. You understand? During the time they were doing it. Now you could flash forward 60 years from there, okay? 60 years from there, we're in 2020. 60 years, that's not that far. That's not that long ago. And we are so-called woke people. We have the internet. We've got Google on our cell phones. We've got Facebook. We've got YouTube. We've got all these forms of information that exposes the type of animal that our oppressor still is, the type of brutality and the type of war that he continues to wage on us. And we as a people, instead of being pissed off by it, angry by it, we suffer from Stockholm syndrome. The Black Lives Matters participants, members, supporters are going to celebrate the 4th of July. They are going to get hats and shirts and shorts and flip-flops with flags on them, red, white, and blue. They're going to do what their oppressor does and says and demands, that you cook a barbecue and you have a party for our birthday. You better live it up. You better party it up. You know, what do they consider you if you don't? What would our oppressor think of you if you don't celebrate the 4th of July? There's a term for it. There's a term for if you celebrate it, you're being this. If you don't celebrate it, then you're being this. Sis, you want to give it a shot?
I get unpatriotic.
Give her a hand. Give her a hand. If you don't celebrate your oppressor's happy day, you'll be considered unpatriotic. You understand? If you do celebrate it, then what would you be considered?
Patriotic.
Patriotic. You understand? Like it's patriotism. Patriotism, that's a thing. Anybody know what patriotism is? Anybody know what patriotism is? Oh, you Google? Okay. Would you Google it? What'd you come up with? What source are you looking at? Or is you just getting the Google definition?
The Google definition.
No sweat. What's the Google? Does it say where it's from though?
No.
No sweat. Let's just hear it. What's the Google definition?
The quality of being patriotic, devotion to and vigorous support for one's country.
Right. The quality of being patriotic, devotion to. Imagine being devoted to something that's not God. Imagine being devoted to something that's anti-God. Imagine being devoted to something that would murder God's children. Imagine being devoted to something that would rape the Most High's children and rob the Most High's children and celebrate while doing it. Imagine being devoted to that. We can't have that. Not today. Not knowing what we know now. You understand? The Most High demands our devotion. God doesn't say, devote yourselves to me and to other nations and to other gods. He's our God alone. He wants our devotion. That's why everything American is in such, so many American customs are in such conflict with the Most High. You just take, and we're definitely going to get into the scriptures. Actually, we could go ahead and start pulling a few of them now. But I just wanted to give the background, the history of this so-called holiday as it pertains to us, and how, just from a practical standpoint, how idiotic it is to support and be a part of it. You understand? How disrespectful it is to your ancestors to go and celebrate the people who murdered them. You understand? And abused them and terrorized them. Like just and rate them. Like let that sink in. Imagine celebrating the people that murdered your family. The ISUPK we'll get you up out of that Stockholm syndrome. You understand? We'll break you of that so-called patriotism, which isn't real patriotism, because patriotism would be having that devotion to your people. You understand? It's like you can't be a patriot to someone else. Like you couldn't go to China and be a patriot in China. Does that make sense? Like you can only be a patriot to your people. That's fair, right? Let them be patriots to theirs, and let us be patriots to ours. Let us be devoted to our people. You understand? Let's get a couple of quick scriptures, man. Let's go. There was another one that I want to go to first. Proverbs 3:31. We covered this last week, but it's always relevant. It is a what call it, a bedrock scripture. It's a scripture I wake up and brush my teeth with, and I remind myself, you understand, that this is wisdom from the Most High. You got that? Proverbs 3:31, nice and loud.
Envy thou not the oppressor.
Book, chapter, and verse.
Proverbs chapter 3, verse 31. Envy thou not the oppressor.
What?
Envy thou not the oppressor.
Envy thou not the oppressor. So that one who's oppressing you, as he's lighting his sparklers, as he's playing his Star-Spangled Banner, you understand, as he's shooting off his fireworks, don't envy that. Don't envy your oppressor. Read on.
And choose none of his ways.
How many?
None.
All.
None.
Just the fireworks.
None.
Just the barbecue.
None of his ways.
Just the red, white, and blue.
None of his ways.
None of his ways, man. Is this one of his ways? Is the 4th of July one of your oppressor's ways? It's not even a debate. Do you know how many churches are going to be decked in red, white, and blue on Sunday? Do I have to tell you?
Wow.
Come on, man. We are, the Most High says we are not to envy our oppressor, and we are to choose none of his ways. It's a law. We're not allowed to. We don't get to. You understand? If you're going to serve the Most High, you don't get to do the 4th of July. You understand? Like, even if, again, even if, all right, everything we talked about leading up to it, how it just doesn't make sense, and how wicked you have to be to celebrate the people who are the cause, are the implementation of the captivity that we're in. You understand? We're in captivity because we disobeyed God, first and foremost. But these are the people who are exacting that on us. These are the people who get to whip us across the back because we didn't pick enough cotton, because we looked at a white woman. You understand? Emmett Till is dead for looking at a white woman. You get that? Like it already just doesn't make sense. But then when you couple it with the fact that the Most High says we're not supposed to have Stockholm syndrome. You understand that? Having Stockholm syndrome is a sin against the Most High. The ISUPK is the only place you're going to learn that you're not allowed to have Stockholm syndrome. You understand? You are going to learn to be patriotic for your people, even if it means being unpatriotic to your oppressor. You understand? All right, let's get another scripture, man. We got scriptures for days on this. Along that same line, let's get two masters. Go to Matthew 6 and 24. Matthew 6 and 24. Let me know you got it. You got it?
New Testament.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Matthew chapter 26, verse 24.
Salakia, chapter 6, verse 24.
Oh,
You got that?
you that.
You got it? All right, let's go.
No man can serve two masters.
Say what?
No man can serve two masters.
No man can serve what?
Two masters.
Two masters. You can't serve the Most High and serve your oppressor and have patriotism for you can't have patriotism for the Most High and his people and have patriotism for your oppressor and his people. You can't do both. This is Christ talking here. Everybody understand what it means when Christ talks in the Bible? That's what Christians follow Christ. Christians say that whatever Christ says and does goes. Well, if Christ is telling you you can't serve two masters, go ahead and keep reading.
For either he will hate the one.
It says you can't serve two masters because you'll either hate the one, keep reading,
And love the other.
and love the other. So you're going to think you're serving two masters, but you're going to be loving one and hating the other. That's Christ. That's Christ talking. That's the head honcho. He's the chief in the church, right? He's not the chief in the church. They're liars. You understand? They don't understand Christ. They couldn't follow Christ. They can't. No one outside of the ISUPK can truly follow Christ. You understand? Because it takes kahunas to do it. You understand? It takes strength to do it. It takes courage to do it. You understand? Just to finish up a little teeny bit of history about this this whole custom of patriotism to America. In the ISUPK, our children, none of us do, including our children, stand for the Star-Spangled Banner. You understand? The national anthem, everybody's supposed to stand up and put their hand over their heart or something like that. And they're supposed to stand at attention and listen to someone sing all kinds of off key about how great America is. You understand? We in ISUPK, we do not do that. You understand? We do not serve two masters. We serve one master. You get that? We in America's public school system, the kids, every day, the Pledge of Allegiance gets recited in schools in the morning, along with the morning announcements or whatnot. Maybe the teacher just does it with the kids. I'm not sure how it works in each school. But in the ISUPK, our children are taught that they cannot pledge allegiance to a flag. Because who is their allegiance to? Aliyah?
The oppressor.
If you pledge your allegiance to the flag, who would you be pledging your allegiance to?
The oppressor.
You'd be pledging your allegiance to the oppressor. But who is our allegiance to?
The Most High.
The Most High. Give them a hand. We only serve the Most High. You understand? We don't. Christ said you can't serve two masters. You're going to love one and hate the other. Keep reading, Salaki. Keep reading. I'm one. Or else?
Or else he will hold to the one and despise the other.
Says you're going to love one and hate the other. You're gonna cling to one and despise the other. You can't straddle the fence. You can't have it both ways. These blackity black groups are going to have barbecues this weekend. I hope you understand that. The Christian church is going to have barbecues. The Muslim mosque is going to have barbecues. Al Sharpton is going to damn sure have a barbecue. And again, in ISUPK, we're going to serve the Most High, man. We would not be barbecuing Do not invite me to your barbecue this weekend. You understand? I don't want your burnt pork. I don't want your burnt chicken. I don't want none of it. Your burnt pork and your undercooked chicken. I don't want it. Salakia. You can have it. You understand? It's just so weak and cowardly. You understand? It's just such a weak. Again, out of all the holidays, again, people might not understand Nimrod and the star and all of that, but you're not going to tell me you don't look at the hell that our people are in and understand that it's like from slavery, we've been on the bottom of this nation, the bottom of this country, and you're going to celebrate it? Like your oppressor is the reason why you're going to grow up without your father. Your father's going to be on drugs and in jail, right? Your mom's going to be a whore, and you're going to have siblings from all different brothers. You know what I'm saying? Like you will live in poverty. You understand? You'll be lucky to graduate high school, let alone get some other higher degree. Like it's a damn shame to have to, wake our people up to the idea that this is not a healthy thing to do. You understand that they're exhibiting signs of, a complex. You know what I'm saying? It's not a technical mental health disorder, because the people who, I imagine the people who put the DSM-4, the diagnostic, statistical manual for like mental health diseases and stuff. No wonder they won't put Stockholm syndrome in there, because, man, they'd be telling on themselves. You understand what I'm saying? Like they'd be, and the only reason it came out was that Stockholm syndrome was something that came out in another country. It was in like Europe or something happened with some other people who were were hostages during a bank robbery or something like that. And then they got out. By the time they were released, they didn't want to testify against the robbers or none of that. You understand? They wouldn't cooperate with the police because they fell in love with them. Anyway, so we can't serve two masters, man. We can't serve our oppressor. We can't give him our allegiance and have our allegiance to the Most High and to our people. You understand? Like that's not how it works. Let me get Isaiah 56:10. And then let me get someone else get Jeremiah 10:1. I think I want that Jeremiah 10:1 first. I think there's a couple of them I want before that. We're running out of time. We're going to hit it with a bunch of heavy scriptures now. It just kind of, if the first 30 minutes of this class weren't convincing enough about just how traitorous it is to your own people to put on some red, white, and blue on the 4th and barbecue and shoot off fireworks. I mean, thus saith the Lord, because you're the children of Israel, you shouldn't do it because your father told you not to. He was telling you not to before all of this. You understand? Someone got Jeremiah from me? You got it? Jeremiah 10:1. Let's hear it nice and loud.
Jeremiah chapter 10, verse 1. Hear ye the word which the Lord speaketh unto you. Hear ye the word which the Lord speaketh unto you. O house of Israel. O house of Israel. That's the people. That's who will be patriotic for, the house of Israel. We're listening. Jeremiah chapter 10, verse 2. Thus saith the Lord, learn not the way of the heathen. Read that again. Learn not the way of the heathen. Learn not the way of what? The heathen. The who? The heathen. The oppressor. And not be dismayed at the signs of heaven. Right. Learn not the way of the heathen. The 4th of July is the way of the heathen. You understand? We're not supposed to learn the way of the heathen. Hear ye, O Israel. You get that? So can we celebrate 4th of July? Why not? It is the way. Oh, yeah?
Is the way of the heathen.
It's the way of the heathen. You understand? America is the heathen. Let that sink in nice and deep. You know, pour it in your cereal in the morning. America is the way of the heathen. The way America does things is the way that a heathen would do things. It is not the way that the Most High wants his children to do it. Hear ye, O Israel, learn not the way of the heathen. Let me also get Colossians 2:8. Y'all make sure y'all jot these scriptures down, man, for when, you know, your parents or your grandparents or your aunts and uncles, your cousins, your friends, you know, they're going to invite you to that disgusting barbecue. You make sure you get them right with these scriptures. You tell me how in the world I'm supposed to, you know, serve the Most High and go do this thing, this abominable thing. Someone got that Colossians for me?
Which scripture is it?
2:8. The water.
Colossians chapter 2, verse 8. Beware lest any man spoil you through philosophy and vain deceit.
Say what?
Beware lest any man
Beware. What does beware mean? What does beware? I'm one.
Like cautious.
It's cautious. It's a warning. It's a warning. You understand? Keep reading. It says, beware lest any man spoil you. What does spoil mean? Is spoil a good thing? No, spoil is a bad thing. You don't want to be spoiled. You don't want to be ruined. You understand? Be cautious. Don't let any man spoil you. Keep reading. Through
philosophy and vain deceit.
Through philosophy, some old crazy way of thinking, and some vain deceit, some empty type of lie that you get told, some trickery, some way of, you know, convincing you and coercing you into doing something, right, that's going to ruin you. Keep reading.
After the tradition of men.
The what?
The tradition of men.
The tradition of men. What's a tradition? Is a tradition something you do one time?
Mm-hmm.
What's a tradition? I'm on.
And like something celebrated over and over.
Yeah, something you kind of do over and over and over again. Like maybe every year on the let's just say 4th of July, we're gonna go celebrate our oppressor and his freedom from his oppressor while he's oppressing us to this day. What you know the type of deceit that goes into something like that to pull that off? The Bible warns us about that, man. Keep reading.
After the rudiments of the world.
Go ahead.
And not after Christ.
Is the 4th of July after Christ? It's got anything to do with Christ. It's got anything to do with the Most High. So should we do it?
Wow.
All right. Let's get does someone have Isaiah 56:10 for me? This is why our people are asleep. This is why our people are allowed to have Stockholm syndrome. This is why the ISUPK stands alone in this fight. You understand? To wake our people up and to bring them into the knowledge of the truth, man. You understand? To save lives. The ISUPK stands alone because this scripture that we're about to read it describes everyone else. Anybody who celebrates the 4th of July, let alone any other holiday, any pastor that celebrates the 4th of July, any politician, any so-called leader, you know, any imam that celebrates the 4th of July, the scripture's talking about them. Let me know when you got it. I need y'all to get this fast and let me know when you got it. Put a hand up when you get it. Let's go.
Isaiah chapter 56, verse 10. His watchmen are blind.
His what?
His watchmen are blind.
What's a watchman? Anybody know what a watchman is? What do you think it is? Just context. It's a compound word. Watchmen. His watchmen are blind. What's a watchman? I'm on.
A man employed to look after something.
Someone who's supposed to be looking after something. Someone's supposed to be looking out. Someone's supposed to be on guard. Someone who's supposed to, be able to see what's going on. But how does the Bible describe them?
Blind.
Blind. Imagine that. That's called irony. You're a watchman. You're supposed to be looking out. You're supposed to be letting our people know that what they're doing is displeasing to the Most High. You're supposed to be letting our people know that you don't have to love your oppressor. You understand? All you have to love is the Most High. But the people who are supposed to be watching out aren't saying a thing. It's almost like they don't even see it. Keep reading.
They are all ignorant.
They are what?
Ignorant.
Ignorant. They are ignorant. These watchmen are blind, like something's wrong with them. They're missing it. They're ignorant. Something's wrong. They're not understanding. You get it? Keep reading.
They are all dumb dogs.
They are dumb dogs. Imagine a dog that's supposed to be protecting you and looking after you is not saying a damn word about any danger or anything that, that's coming to harm you. Anything that's kind of out of the way. They're not saying anything. What a dumb dog. You got one job. You got one job. And you're not even doing that. Keep reading.
They cannot bark.
They cannot bark. Why are they supposed to bark? I'm on.
Because their owner is in danger.
Yeah, because there's danger. Something's wrong. Bark. Make a noise. Say something about it. Say something about it. It's 2021. Our pastors are going to wear red, white, and blue, and they're going to have barbecue chicken at church Sunday. I just looked at the calendar. The 4th is Sunday. They are going to have a ball in church, red, white, and blue, star-spangled banner. They'll probably have a singing contest. They'll probably see which choir member can sing the national anthem the best. I bet I'd put money on that. I'd put money on it. Keep reading.
Sleeping.
They're sleeping. These people are supposed to be looking out for our people. You understand? People come to them in droves. People pour out billions and trillions of dollars to these people to be watchmen. And what do?
They're sleeping.
They do nothing. Keep reading.
Lying down.
They just lying down, man. They just sleep. Keep reading.
Loving the slumber.
They just love to slumber, man. We in the ISUPK, we don't sleep. If you got the number to a camp leader in your area, I pray you understand that you can call that number literally 24/7. You understand? Our captains they don't get sleep. They get calls around the clock. What is sleep for? You understand? When you're supposed to be a watchman, when you're supposed to be a vanguard, when you're supposed to be a protector of these people that need protection, when you're supposed to, guide these people who need guidance. You understand? People who have Stockholm syndrome and need someone to snap them out of it. You only get Stockholm syndrome when you actually run into a feeling of helplessness. When you feel like getting on your oppressor or your captive's good side is your only recourse for protection or for safety. You understand? And ISUPK, man, we'll be your vanguard. We'll be your protection, under the authority of the Most High. And that's how we're going to do it. We're going to serve the Most High, and He will make even our enemies be at peace with us. You understand? He'll deal with that. He'll deal with the oppressor. He'll become an adversary to our adversaries. You understand? Man, I could go on and on and on, man. I might even just a couple other scriptures that just kind of resonate, man. And I'd be remiss if I'm gonna go ahead and go over a couple of them. We're gonna go over a little bit today. Y'all gonna have to bear with me. Give me Amos 5:21. I'll just do this one. We could save the next one for another class.
I've got about 5 more scriptures, man. Maybe I'll put them in the description after class. But yeah, anybody got a problem with you not celebrating the 4th of July? You just you send them the link to this class, or again, you go through the class, take the notes, man, jot down information, man, and you go get your people up out of celebrating the 4th of July. You understand? So your friends call you on the phone, hey man, what you doing for the 4th? I'm gonna be patriotic to my people, and to hell with this oppressor and his happy day. You understand? To be the damn tyrant of the whole planet, to be the #1 murderer. You got that? Amos 5:21. Nice and loud.
Amos chapter 5, verse 21. I despise your feast days.
I what?
I hate.
Hate. Wait a minute. Who's I? Who's the I in this scenario? Anybody want to give it a go? Anwar?
The people of Israel.
Nope. La.
The
Aliyah?
aggressor.
Huh?
The aggressor.
Nope. La. Aitara.
The Most High.
The Most High. Give her a hand. The Most High says, I hate. I hate. I thought God loved everybody and everything, and everything's just peaches and cream, right? Nah. La. The Most High says, I hate. I despise. What does he hate and despise? Keep reading.
And I will not smell in your
He hates and despises what?
your feast days.
Your what?
Feast days.
Your what?
Feast days.
4th of July.
Feast days.
Thanksgiving.
Feast days.
Easter dinner.
Feast days.
Christmas dinner.
Feast days.
New Year's Eve dinner.
Feast days.
The Most High hates your filthy, wicked feast days. He hates it. That burnt hamburger, he hates it. You understand? Those crusty hot dogs, he hates it. Oh, yeah. Keep reading.
And I will not smell in your solemn assemblies.
Your solemn assemblies. So it's not like the Most High doesn't hate barbecue food. He doesn't hate barbecue. He doesn't hate hot dogs in general. He doesn't hate hamburger or steak. He hates it because he hates the solemn assembly of you. He hates that you're going to get together and reverence this day. You're going to make your own filthy holy day so you can worship your flag, so you can worship America the beautiful. He hates your feast day. He despises it. You understand? So with that, children of Israel, 12 tribes, we should never, ever celebrate the 4th of July. You understand? We got to do better. You understand? And if you want to learn how to do better and you want to get your strength, you understand? You come up into the ISUPK, you get in these classes, you brothers, you get in all black, and you come in here and you man up and you learn what it is to be an Israelite. You learn what it is to be a child of the Most High. And with that, I say, Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shabarakatham to the Akim, and Yahweh Shamar Alatha Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai to the Akwathium. And with that, Shalom, Israel. All right, yo.